Are you preparing for mains and you want to know the most effective way of preparing for mains so that you end up getting really, really good score in the mains exam, irrespective of whether you're doing it when it's just 2 months to the exam or there is an year already, there is an year for you and you have to prepare really well for the mains? I have a wonderful solution for you. It's called mind maps. Hello friends, Vinay Kumar here, founder of IAS WINNISHERS, and here I am trying to help you with one wonderful tool that all successful aspirants use for their success in civil service exam means, which is the mind maps. Now, what is this mind maps? When I talk about mind maps, what comes to your mind is probably the flow of information that's put in form of circles and some networks and all of that. If you are able to imagine that, you're actually right. That is what mind map is. Okay. But let me help you understand the science behind the mind maps. Mind maps is not simply some, what do you call, it's not some jugad. It's a scientific tool, my dear friends. All right. It's a very, very scientific tool. It has why it is so effective is because our brain works on some principles and mind maps is exactly in accordance with it. In fact, if you know this fact, my dear friends, our brain doesn't like the top-down form of learning things. Like generally it is presented in the textbooks or in the study material and all of that. It likes the radial form of learning because it reduces the cognitive load. Not only, when I say radial form of learning, just for your understanding, what I'm trying to say is, if let us say you're talking about land reforms, all right? So if you have written land reforms, circled it, and there are lines radiating from land reforms where you're saying, abolition of zamindari, or sealing on the land holdings, or the consolidation of the land holdings, upgradation of the land records, and all of that when you do through these networks, then the brain actually finds that information very easy to absorb and store compared to the normal reading format that is there, like I told you, in your textbooks and study material. So mind map is a very scientific tool. That's number one. Number two is, when you actually write a mind map, you're not just absorbing the information and trying to store it in the way that is there in the textbook, but you're also adding a visual element to it, especially for those of you who are good visual learners, who process information visually, my dear friends. I'll tell you, mind map is going to be very, very useful because mind maps ensure that brain has an extra layer of remembering, or an extra layer from where your recall into the consciousness becomes very, very easier. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friend? So, having explained to you the science behind the mind maps and why it is so effective for your preparation for the mains, let me explain to you some rules that you have to follow. Otherwise, mind maps may become very ineffective to you. Remember, mind maps as a strategy should always be used at the time of recalling, not at the time of reading or revising. And this is in general. There are exceptions, however, which I'm going to share with you. But in a very generic way, if I have to help you with the application of mind maps, the first thing that you have to understand is, my dear friends, use mind maps as a strategy of your preparation, or bring it as a tactic of your preparation only at the time of recall. Once you use it at the time of recall part of your preparation, it helps you in active recall from then on, which is very, very crucial for you to be able to save time when you write your answers in the mains exam. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you? So, what I have to, one very important rule that you have to bear in the mind is, my dear friends, when you're using the mind maps as strategy, make sure you're bringing it at time of recall, which also means what? let's say 1 year before your actual mains exam, if you're starting to prepare for your mains, okay, which is a good thing to do, right? Which is the ideal thing to do. Nobody should be jam packing their preparation for mains only after the prelims. They'll have to at least try, to start their preparation 1 year in advance. Perfect. Now, 1 year in advance, when you start your preparation, what I suggest to you is, my dear friends, always go in a step by step process. Don't go into mind maps directly. If you have the NCERT textbooks with you, first read it. They provide you very, very good layer of foundation. And without that foundation, any textbooks you read or any study material you subscribe to, I'm sure, my dear friends, it won't be as effective as first reading the NCERT textbooks. NCERT textbooks actually go an extra mile in helping you understand the basics so well that only on the strong basics, only on the strong foundation, will you be able to really appreciate and be able to replicate any other information that you're going to acquire further in the process of your preparation. So without NCERTs, don't get into even reading of your textbooks or any other study material. This is my recommendation to you, strictly, my dear friends. Once you have done that, make sure you go to the second layer of books. Second layer of books is standard textbooks. There are some textbooks for UPSC which are super damn good, and anybody who is serious of cracking it in an attempt or two, okay, serious, not just people who are trying to see whether they can. Serious people should read some books like the Mishra and Puri of Indian Economy, the Bipan Chandra's, both the books, India's Struggle for Independence, and the book that talks about India since independence. All right, such kind of books, those kind of standard textbooks, my dear friends, for the mains I'm talking about, you should not miss. You have to read them. After reading them, then get into the syllabus, my dear friends. See, till now you have not even touched the syllabus. You are just reading the books and preparing yourself. You are expanding your awareness. You are expanding your knowledge. All right. Now you take the syllabus, and in accordance with the syllabus, try to create notes out of it. If possible, and if you have time, the best thing to do is to actually create notes, my dear friends. Fair enough? You write down, you write the main point, you write the explanation for it. Again, the main point, explanation, examples, all these things you have to do. Okay? Now, once you have done this exercise, you may be wondering, hey, what is this person talking about? He said he'll talk about mind maps, and now he's prescribing the same, top-down kind of studying. I'll tell you, my dear friends, mind map is an active recall tool. But remember, you can't write like that in the exam. For every question, if you write a mind map and come, you will not get marks. So this is an ideal way of practicing still. That is why I told you, don't bring mind map everywhere into your preparation. Bring it where it is more effective. Bring it where it really works wonders for you. If you use mind map as a strategy everywhere in your preparation, you're going to screw up your preparation. Fair enough? Having said that, so when it comes to the, the second stage of your preparation, the third stage. First stage is the NCERT, second stage is the standard textbooks, and the third stage where you are actually, reading according to the syllabus. Today, you have so much information around explanation for the syllabus. Any AI tool you go, search tools like Gemini, Claude, whatever, my dear friends, you get wonderful information. Instead of relying on study materials, you can rely on it, because study materials are also created from this only anyway. So, if you can use it and create proper notes for yourself, okay? You have done all of this, and somewhere in the month of December or January, you have migrated your preparation to the prelims. June, when you're coming back to the mains preparation, immediately don't get into mind maps. Whatever notes you have created, keep that notes. read it again. This is what we call as revision. So even at the stage of revision, you are still not using the mind maps. Bear this in the mind, my dear friends. This is very, very important. Anywhere you have not followed my instructions correctly, I'm sure somewhere something is going to go wrong, my dear friends. I have been very clear in prescribing to you how you have to do it and in what sequence you have to do it. I have said, first, without NCRTs, don't start your preparation. Because if you don't start with NCRTs and make your foundation really, really strong, going further, you will have stars and what do you call these dwarf planets going around in your brain, my dear friends. I mean, you'll have those emoticons that are there in the WhatsApp with the googly around its head. That will be your case. So have a very strong foundation. Having a very strong foundation, go to the standard textbooks, read them, expand your knowledge. Okay? Get some depth, get more clarity. Then go to what do you call the syllabus. According to the syllabus, create the notes. Now, with all of this, immediately after your prelims, when you start your preparation for mains, revise. Okay, revise what notes you have created. After the revision, now you will definitely be part of some test series, correct? You have to recall things for your test. You will have to check with yourself whether I am able to recall the information that I have prepared. There comes the utility of the mind maps. There is where you use the mind maps to actively see whether you're able. See, that is where you'll put a circle, you'll put the main heading there, you'll put the radiance like this, and then you'll start to write all the subpoints and the examples there in that diagram, my dear friends. How much ever you're able to do it, do it. Okay? Like, not everything you may be able to recall. Now go back to your notes. See what you have left. Fill it there. And if you just keep doing it, I'll tell you, my dear friends, your recalling capacity just, it blows across the roof, my dear friends, I'll tell you. At some point of time, you'll be able to recall so damn well, I'll tell you. Like, any topic you take, any subject you take, oh, these are the points. Because your brain is able to quickly get that mind map into your consciousness. Okay, these are the points. These are the examples that I have to write. These are the subpoints that I have to write for each main point. Very easily it comes. So, mind map is not a reading tool. It's not a comprehending tool. It's not even a revision tool. It's a recall tool. It's a tool for active recall. And at the end of the day, for your success in the mains, what matters the most is how well you recall the information. Mains doesn't care about how much you know. Mains doesn't even care about how much you have read. What it all cares is how much you can recall and how quickly you can recall. That is what mains cares all about, my dear friends. So if you can use the mind maps in this way, it's going to be super, super useful to you. However, I told you there are exceptions, right? There are so many of our friends who wouldn't have gone through this step-by-step approach. They would have skipped NCRTs, or they would have skipped textbooks. They wouldn't have prepared for the syllabus. They wouldn't have created notes and all of that. Now I cannot expect them to do all of that between the prelims and the mains if they have got selected to the mains. Here comes the exception. What are you going to do here? Now is the time to pick up any study material that you can, which you resonate with, because there are thousands of study material out there in the market. Pick one, see how your heart is resonating with it. Are you finding it familiar, easy, also comprehensive? Just pick that up. When you read it once, immediately create mind maps. In this process, all these stages are not there. No notes making, here mind map becomes a note making tool, my dear friends, from being a recall tool that it actually is. From being an active recall tool that actually it is, here you are transforming it into a notes making tool. Are you connecting to what I'm trying to tell you, my dear friends? Bear this in the mind. And if you are someone who has got selected to means, this is not your time to be making notes, reading things slowly and all of that. Use mind maps, fata, complete your preparation, accelerate your preparation, and ensure that you are there on time. Thank you, my dear friends. Hope this helped you.